All right, now let's set up the situation here. We've got our Windows Server running and we've got every machine running. So I've got my two Windows 10 machine, my Windows Server running. And we're going to use this tool that we just installed, CrackMapExec. And it's going to look something like this. We can say CrackMapExec. We could do -- help and take a look at what it's got to offer us. And I can make this a little bit bigger. We can scroll up to the top, and really what it does is we need to provide it with a target. Typically, we either provide target IP addresses, a range, or a CIDR notation. We can do a bunch of different things. My favorite is just give it a CIDR notation, and you're going to see what that looks like. Then we're going to have to provide a username, a domain, and a password. Or we could provide a username and password and do a -- local if it's a local account. But from here, we're going to provide a username, domain, password, because as of right now, we have just captured the user account of fcastle password 1. And there's so many different things that we can do here. There's actually a lot of modules that we can run. Now the modules are kind of finicky, but I'm going to show you some cool little tricks that we can attempt to do here. So first of all, let's just check our status. How about we do that? So we're going to just do something like this. We're going to say CrackMapExec.
Okay, in a small pause and course update, CrackMapExec actually changed the way the syntax is run. So we need to make a minor change. What I'm about to show you is how to do this, and I just want you to follow along with this change. So what you're going to do, instead of writing the IP address as shown in the next part of this video, all you need to do is put SMB in front of it. So whatever your IP address is, like 192.168.0.0/24, whatever that might be right here, ensure that you have SMB in front of it, and then go ahead and follow along with SMB in front with the rest of the command line, and you should be good to go the rest of the time.
And we're going to say a user, actually let's go ahead and specify the domain or where we're going to be attacking. So 192.168.57.0/24 for me. So it's going to sweep the entire network with this. We're going to say user of fcastle, domain of marvel.local, and password of password1. So go ahead and fire that off. And there we go. So it has gone ahead and it attempted to attack my .1 machine, which is my local machine here. But it also attacked the network that we have, right? So we've got the Hydra DC, we've got Spider-Man, and then the Punisher here. And you could see that it came through, it tried this username and password on Hydra DC, it did not work. What does that tell us? That means that this user does not have SMB access, because this is trying to access SMB here. It doesn't have SMB access to the domain controller. Unfortunately, we don't win that easy all the time. We've also tried Spider-Man, right? We knew about the Punisher, but we didn't know about Spider-Man. So that's nice. So we've got Spider-Man now and the Punisher. So we've owned a second machine. When it says pwned here, that means we now have access to a second machine. So what can we do? We could go psexec.py and we can use these credentials and do it to .142 as we did with .141. We can also do something, which this is kind of cool. We could do something like --sam. And if we get ownage, sometimes this will work for us. It's going to try to dump the SAM file, and here it didn't work. That's okay. So it tries to go in, and this is successful a lot of the time, where it goes in and it'll try to dump the SAM file out of these machines. And if we look up here, there's a few different things that we can do with it. We could try to dump the SAM or LSA, NTDS, which we talked about way in the beginning, and we're going to talk about it again here in a little bit. We could enumerate shares. There's all kinds of things that we can add on. Again, there's all these modules, which we're not going to even cover. I do recommend reading the documentation on this because it can go really deep, and it's surprising how deep this can actually go. But from here, let's just talk about what we can do. So we weren't able to dump the SAM here, but we can utilize a tool called secrets dump, which we're going to cover in the next video on how to get the SAM file. And we can just do that psexec, right? So we had psexec.py, and we could say marvel, and we could say fcastle password 1, and we could put that at 192.168.57.142 and try to get a shell there. And wouldn't you know it, who am I? Host name. We're authority system on Spider-Man. So this is a quick win here. We can take advantage of this, as we're going to see in the next video, dumping some hashes out, getting some more information, extracting this. We could also go try to get a shell on this machine via the Meterpreter PsExec as well and utilize those. So that's just a quick overview of how useful passing the password is. This is, if I get a credential, the very first thing I'm doing is I'm passing it around the network because I know it's valid. You can also utilize this to password spray, but I would recommend against doing that on domain accounts, because what happens is, say we have 50 machines here. You take this username, you could put any password you want here and try to spray it across the network. And what's going to happen is you're going to get failed login attempts. And if you get so many in a row, you might lock out your user account. However, if you have a local account, which you're going to see here in a couple videos, you can actually try password spraying against it. And you could just throw anything you want at it to see if it sticks. And you might get lucky. And the local accounts don't have that same lockout policy like domain accounts do. So I always like to do some password spraying on local accounts as another strategy if you're kind of stuck and not getting anywhere, or if you've come across some different passwords or different password phrases or patterns that you might have noticed in the network. It's another good thought to have, to just try it against some different accounts or even just admin or administrator. So that's it for this lesson. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next lesson, which is how to dump hashes now that we have this here. So we've got a user account. Let's dump hashes with this user account, especially on the 2 machines that we found. And we'll store those hashes. We'll even try to crack those hashes. And we'll move on to passing the hash as well, just as an example. So I will catch you over in the next video.